I have Courtney with me, comfortably sitting atop the women's Carball world right now. Courtney, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good as well. Now, as we get going, I want you to introduce yourself to people that might not be familiar with you, or even people that might be familiar with you, just to get this interview started.
Well, hello. My name's Courtney. I play for Gen.G Mobil1 Racing Black, which is a women's carball team. So we compete in women's events, and I also compete in outside tournaments outside of women's events, such as RLCS quals. And
All
I'm
right.
currently rank X in six men's.
Rank X as well. So you're all over the place competitively, Courtney. I do want to start talking about your experience in the bubble scene and making it to the RLCS. So all the way back, what has your competitive experience been like from the very beginning? Where did it start?
I so when I first played the game, I was a casual player. All of my friends were like, "Oh, ranked is too sweaty," and then one of my friends convinced me to play ranked. This was around original season two, so not the one after Epic bought Psyonix, but like the original. And it was honestly so much fun. Like I could feel the competitiveness like coming in because I played baseball for 10 years at a pretty high
Hmm.
level, so it just made me want to keep pushing myself.
So it's that competitive spirit that keeps you going. Is that how you've remained committed to the grind for so long? I mean, you've been competing for several years now. Is that what keeps you going?
I would say something that really keeps me going is surrounding myself around the right people and just wanting to be the best in anything I've done, especially in this game. I quite literally been addicted for about 7.5 years now, and I just want to keep pushing.
Well, that's good. The fire's still burning strong after all this time. So then, what's your competitive routine like to be pushing for so long? You have to have settled it, I'm sure, into some kind of routine. What does a normal week look like for you preparing for events?
So since I've only been on one team recently, and that's probably how it's going to be going on out, I normally hop on at 4 and I start my training ritual, which I bumped it up to about an hour free play in like 15 minutes at a training pack for shooting purposes, and then I play a little bit of ranked and then take a little bit of a break, and then I have scrims for 2 to 3 hours, Monday through Friday.
Okay, and then while you said now you're just competing with one team. I assume the Gen.G Mobil1 Racing Black team for the foreseeable future.
Yes, correct. I realize playing on two teams is incredibly hard. You have to have a certain amount of just not confidence. The word I'm looking for is just you have to have a certain amount of energy to constantly keep pushing and constantly scrim. And two teams is just a little too much for me right now. And that's okay. Like I love playing qualifiers with the girls and stuff and outside tournaments with the girls. And that's not going to change because I also want to see, I really do want to see us grow as a team over time.
So going back to when you did compete for two teams, I'm really curious. How did you balance that? Because like you said, that's a lot, and not a lot of people in the scene compete on two teams as regularly as you did. So what was that like balancing both squads you played for?
It was pretty stressful. Sometimes it'd be like 4 hours worth of scrims on a day.
Mm.
The normal average I'd say is roughly two. So bumping, literally doubling that was definitely a big stretch, but it was worth it. I got to meet a lot of amazing people and I got to really grow as a player, which is just helping my longevity competing.
Okay, and then speaking of longevity, like you said, you've been playing for 7.5 years essentially, Rocket League. But your competitive journey, you went on a hiatus back in 2020, in October from October 2020 to March 2021. And I'm curious, what was the temporary retirement about then, and what got you out of it?
So there was like a time in my life where I was just really, I'd say depressed
Hmm.
and it was leading to my burnout. Even before this, I actually took a break prior and it was due to burnout and it made me want to focus on content, so I decided to focus on content. I was still playing in WCB at the time, but I also wanted to take the time to focus on content and see where it took me. And I got to around March and I was like, I love doing content, but I also want to be able to do both. I love doing both so much. And it's when I told myself that it was time to start grinding. And even after I came back in March, after that RLCS split, I took more time off. I was like, can I do this? Can I do this? And I got back into the game and I started pushing more than ever.
Do those short breaks, do you find, refresh you and help you continue pushing every time?
I think at the time it did because I was in a really unhealthy mental headspace, and I think players really need to focus on their mental health. Not everybody prefers therapy. They don't prefer that to be the way to be, and that's totally understandable. Everybody has their own ways, but therapy has really helped me get into my best mental headspace that makes me want to keep pushing while also not destroying my mental health at the same time.
So now I'm curious about the therapy side. Is that something you've always done as a competitor, or is it something you found helped you along the journey that
Well,
you went more into?
I've been going to therapy since I was 12. I had an incident that I'm not going to go into detail that
Oh yeah.
happened, and uh it was very much I was very much told that the best idea would be to go to therapy and talk to people to help me figure out my issues. So this was 10 years ago now, so I've been going to therapy for 10 years.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. I know there's all kinds of unfortunate stigmas around therapy and opening up like that. So I appreciate. Do you find it helps you competitively and stay in the right headspace while you're competing, as well as in life as well?
Yeah, I would say so because one of my big issues is I have a lot of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
When you're competing for money, that anxiety is only going to get worse when you're in the moment.
Right.
And so my therapist and I have helped come up with a bunch of strategies just to deal with anxiety in general that I've been able to use for the competitive aspect. And it's helped a lot. I'm not afraid to be open about like needing help. I think it should be okay, and I hope the world makes it more okay as time goes on.
I love that. That's really cool. And so I was kind of focusing on slightly negative parts of the competitive scene here as well. So we don't have to stay on it long, but I know the point of the women's scene is to be a safe space for female competitors to compete. Do you deal with toxicity outside of the women's scene in general while you're competing as a bubble player?
Um, I wouldn't say I deal with toxicity because I play in the league,
Mm-hmm.
but I do just know that some people don't think I'm that great, and that's okay. I mean, I think that's normal for anyone. Other people will think they're bad. I think some people like it's just kind of just how the world works. And what I've done to combat that is, like I said, surrounding myself with amazing people. I've quite literally been teaming with Bella for 2 years now,
Wow.
and like we've gotten closer and closer as time goes on. And just my team environment and just the people you surround yourself with is so important. So when you do get negative comments, you have people that can hold you up and help lift you and lift your spirits to just keep pushing because sometimes negativity for any player, whether they're male, female, non-binary, anything
Mm-hmm.
along those lines, it's gonna hurt you. Hearing somebody call you terrible, unless you have the strongest mental in the world, it's gonna hurt you. Even if it's not as much as it would, it'll still happen and but it won't hurt as much when you hang out with the right people, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
That makes sense. Surround yourself with good people, and good things will happen. That's a great message. So now I want to pivot to your WCB experience as a whole. You've been competing all the way since season one.
Yeah, I've literally been competing in WCB since season one 2019, which has been
Wow.
as long as I've had my PC, which
So you,
is crazy to think about.
you've been there since the very beginning. How have you seen it grow and change in those 4 years since it began?
I would say the way it's changed, it still is a community thing, but
Hmm.
I'd say it's a lot more on the competition side now. There's also a lot more money involved now. I still remember the early seasons. There were like the prize pool for the whole season was $1,000, and which was a lot for us, and we all just really wanted it. I've also seen a lot of players come and go, and just seeing different types of ownership and seeing to where it is now, where people feel comfortable playing in this league, I think is such an important aspect.
So is the competitive environment of the WCB? I mean, obviously it's a community league, and I imagine that there's a lot more positivity within that relative to other sides of competitive Rocket League. But how is the competitive environment different in the WCB relative to outside of it?
I would say that it's just like any other competitive scene in the fact that, like I said earlier, people think some are bad, people think
Mm-hmm.
some are good. Some people are going to talk trash, but that's normal, and I think that's okay because it teaches people what competition is. WCB is supposed to be a way to grow competitors and to make people want to compete in the RLCS, or just find a bunch of people you want to play with. Everybody has their own group in the community, and I think that's the best part.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I interact with a decent amount of people, but I don't hang out with a lot of people. And that's okay. Like I have my group and everybody has theirs.
Gotcha. So this sounds like you said, like every other league
Yeah,
in Rocket
but
League.
I will say it also is I'd say there's a lot more rules about like being nice to each other because
Mm-hmm.
this is supposed to be an uplifting league. And I think the community management does a great job at that. I think just controlling everyone and willing to have conversations with people and keeping it clean because even if they're competitive, like we all like literally on my tweet today when we won, um I was getting like messages from people who were like, congratulations, like you deserved it. I feel like in any normal like bubble scene or pro scene that may not happen as much.
Yeah, that's great having that showering message because you do deserve it. You've been grinding so long and to be at the top right now. I mean, speaking of the top in North America, at least this season, it's been you, Gen.G, and Misfits trading blows essentially in every event. What's it like having a distinct rival like that for an entire season?
Honestly, it's a lot of fun. Like, I like all the people on Misfits. Obviously, we have a rivalry, but it's also like we've grown some respect for each other. I'd say it's like okay, like we're the two teams in North America that are like we gotta look out for, and I think it's like I said, it's almost made us respect each other more, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's made everybody want to push themselves more to be at the top.
Do you think that helped you? I mean, today beating Resolve in the grand finals, the preparation of the entire season, the grindstone of Misfits that you were up against. Do you think that prepared you well for the international play that you had to play against this weekend?
I honestly think, for me personally, since I played for so long, I've played so many of these players
Mm.
so many times. So I think it's just like literally in the pre-lobby when we played Misfits, we go, all right, one of us has to win for North America. Whoever wins this has to win for North America. North America needs it. And so it's kind of like we almost built up each other's confidence going, if we lose, we believe you can do it, and vice
Hmm.
versa.
And it worked. North America's back on top. We couldn't do it in RLCS or CRL, but we've got it in WCB. So I appreciate you guys for that, making NA look good. And I mean, winning the entire season. What does that achievement mean to you as a competitor?
It means the world because I'm also because NA hasn't won a single season of WCB till now,
Hmm.
unless other than when the regions were split, which obviously makes sense. But
Yeah.
um, this is the first interregion season that NA has won, and honestly, it feels so cool, and it genuinely feels like an honor. And just to know that so many people, because I've gotten messages from people that people look up to me, and I'm still not used to it. It feels a little weird,
Hmm. Well,
but it's almost like it gives me a reason to want to keep pushing.
So what's it like being a role model? Do you find does that affect your behavior at all as a competitor, as a content creator, anything like that? Knowing that
Oh,
people do look up to you.
100%, because my mom and dad are like, make sure you don't tweet this, make sure you don't tweet that, don't do anything crazy, be smart with your decisions. And so I think my parents have also wanted to help me become into that role model. And I think it's just it's matured me a lot, like really early. It's
Hmm.
matured, like I feel like I'm a lot more mature than some people my age, and I think being, I don't want to say spotlight because obviously we're not in RLCS, but I guess being more
Hmm.
publicly known is the correct term. It's definitely taught me of don't do anything crazy on social media that you'll regret.
That's a lesson some people have to learn the hard way,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So that you mentioned your parents, and I want to talk about that. What kind of impact, aside from helping you be a mature player, what kind of impact have they had on your competitive spirit and experience?
Oh, they love it. I mean, my parents, when I played baseball, I remember we had the state championship, and my mom, my nana, my papa, my dad, my brother, we all drove like
Wow.
2 hours to play this game. It was a 3 game series, and everybody drove 2 hours, and they've always been supportive. And especially when I started getting further into the competitive scene, they became incredibly supportive. My mom actually flew out to Dreamhack Dallas to watch me play
Wow.
live, and she literally bragged to all of her friends. It had to be one of the coolest moments ever as her daughter to be like, wow, I play video games for a living, and
Hmm.
my mom is like, my God, I need to tell all my friends about how cool my daughter. It's a really cool feeling.
That's so cool. So then let's talk about DreamHack Dallas as well. I mean, your family got to see you win that. What was playing on the land stage like there?
Oh, it was unreal. I love doing my dance moves on stage. I'm a very music based player, so I had my Spotify on, and I was grooving, I was
Nice.
dancing, and it was so unreal because I've never played in a LAN before. That was my first ever LAN.
Wow.
And I think the way that DreamHack did it for the women's event by surrounding it with so many other events was the best possible way to introduce LANs into the women's Rocket League scene. Because there was the women's CS:GO event there was
Hmm.
CRL, there was so many more. And I think that was the perfect way to introduce people to us was we're not just going to give you a LAN on your own.
Hmm.
We're gonna surround yourself with other people who also like video games that can just walk by and even watch this for like 5 seconds and just be like, "Wow, the more you know."
Then what was it like playing in front of the crowd, whether it was the sit down crowd or the passers by? What was that like?
It was so cool. It is genuinely a memory I will have for the rest of my life. It was so unreal to just like literally my profile picture on Twitter is waving to my mom in the crowd.
Oh,
It was inspirational to be like, wow, I finally got to play on stage.
and win, and you're undefeated in your LAN appearances. So you have that with you until the next LAN when you got to defend it again. So what do you think it means for the women's scene to have a LAN of that magnitude at a place like DreamHack?
I think it's massive for this scene. I think everybody was so appreciative. Obviously, we everybody wanted more teams, but I do think a smaller land was the best way to start it because you
Hmm.
can't just go big or go home and then oh, people aren't as interested and someone's out a lot of money. I think the way they did it was incredibly smart. And I think it's gotten everybody excited to compete in a land in the future because hopefully the scene keeps growing and more teams get invited.
And hopefully it continues to grow like this. What do you see as the future for the women's scene in Rocket League?
Just see it constantly growing. I think there's going to be more lands involved. I think we have a bigger presence than a lot of people think, and I hopefully see people who are willing to get into content and growing their
Hmm.
content creation, and which all in all will also help build the scene.
Do you have a message for fellow female non-binary competitors just trying to make it big in the Rocket League community?
Enjoy every moment because what I've come to the realization is I'm 22. and I'm at the point where I'm trying to go to school, like college, and then I have to think about my future, and I'm cherishing every moment I have because I know sometimes things don't last forever, and I just feel so thankful that I get to do what I do on a daily basis. There's going to be a lot of people that will say stuff about you, may not like you, and that's okay. Genuinely just surround yourself around the right people.
All right, and before we wrap up the interview, this is just my curiosity. What's your all-time favorite memory of competing? And I'll expand this even beyond playing Rocket League. Like just your entire life, your competitive spirit. What's your all-time favorite memory?
This is a very obviously winning. I'm gonna go outside of the LAN win and the championship win because I feel that'll be more fun. Is I remember I was about Diamond in Rocket League, and I did a tournament. I signed up for a tournament, so I was still on console, and I played Chicago.
Wow.
I played Chicago, Hato, and someone else. And so I was Diamond 1, and, like, obviously they were, like, I think this was at the time they were in, like, RLCS. And so just watching them fly around like crazy, it was like, wow. It was like, I want to be like that.
And here you are. You're flying around like crazy, winning trophies, playing in front of crowds. It's unbelievable. Courtney, I appreciate you joining me and talking about all of that. And congratulations again on your big wins. This has been a great summer for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. I've had an absolute blast.
All right. Well, that wraps up my interview with Courtney, again on top of the women's Carball world, hoisting trophies, very likely not for the last time. So that's been this interview with MrBepic, and I'll see you in the next one.